Warning, the Bible Thumping Wingnut podcast is a Christian program that may contain graphic descriptions of death, burial, and resurrection, and may not be suitable for those who deny the God who created them. Repentance and faith is advised.
10, 9, we have ignition sequence start. The engines are on. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And now for the Bible Thumping Wingnut. And now for the Bible Thumping Wingnut.
Bible Thumping Wingnut.
And now for the Bible Thumping Wingnut. Completely incapable of seeing women as equal human beings.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Bible Thumping Wingnut podcast. My name is Tim. I am one of the two co-hosts of the Bible Thumping Wingnut podcast. We are here live at G3, and we have a special guest. Todd Friel is with us, and we're going to interview him. I want to encourage everybody to go to the website and register your profile at BibleThumpingWingnut.com. You get all the information about the Bible Thumping Wingnut Network, 10 podcasts in one site. Join the social media, lots of things going on there. We are actually even giving away some prizes. We're going to do a drawing at the end of the conference. You don't have to be at the conference or at the drawing to receive the gift, to win the prize. You just have to register your profile on our website. So Todd Friel is here from Wretched Radio. Todd, how many times has Todd been here on the show? How many times have you been on the show there, Todd?
Wait, you want me to do the math on this deal? I don't know. This is your program. You're a network now. You should know these things.
I should.
Mr. Network, the syndicated guy. Well done.
I don't know that we're syndicated.
I just use it. It sounds great.
Okay. Broadcasting worldwide. We can say that, right?
That sounds like Elvis Aloha from Hawaii.
So
and if you know that reference, you're almost dead. Because that was 1973.
I was it's like 7.
Oh.
You're not that much older than me. You're
not that much.
55?
Yeah, no, I'm like, what was it? I Can't Drive 55. Who is that guy?
Sammy Hagar.
Yeah, no, I'm not yet. But I'm working on it. But look at the rogue gray hairs I'm starting to get. I have actually been longing for these to come in because it's a sign of wisdom. Well, you know, if you're actually wise.
I've been wise for
you
a long
should
time.
have wisdom, I think is the proverb. By the time you have gray hair, you should be a little smarter. I'm waiting for that too.
So what is going on with Wretched Radio today?
Right this second? Nothing. Because I'm here with you. What's going on is...
We're making it so you can't progress any farther.
This is, we believe it or not, we have a threefold purpose to the program. So as we make our way through the stories of the day, what we get bombarded by on the internet, etc., 3 things: preach the gospel, hopefully help, for better or for worse, people preach the gospel, and then teach folks how to apply the gospel and theology to their lives, because that disconnect sometimes is a difficult 8 inches to transverse from brain to heart. So we try to show, is it traverse or transverse?
I think traverse. I think you got it right there.
Did I? Right.
Yeah, I think that's where you want to be with it.
Did you study Latin? How do you know these things?
We are a homeschool family.
Of course you study Latin. And a big armo were room quick. I know to you. Right?
Well, I'm not the teacher, though.
Yeah, I don't want to one-up you, but that's what we homeschooling families do.
Right.
We just speak Koine Greek in our home.
Yeah, we go through all the
you're in your Roman Catholic Vulgate business.
Yes, right after our 16 hours of quiet time.
That's exactly correct.
and then we work through the Latin declensions.
Should we do Puella together?
My wife would be the one.
Oh, that's it. See, that's how that works. You're the principal who runs off to work for 8 or 10 hours, leaving your wife in the war zone with the kids, and then you
war
come home.
War zone is so accurate.
Of course it is. You see, homeschooling is a blessing.
Yes.
But it is also, home is a school of character.
Right.
Well, normally people these days get to send their little Tasmanian devils away to school.
Right.
At homeschooling, they stay with you. So you get to develop a lot of character.
Mm-hmm. Yep. My wife's got a lot of character.
I'm guessing she'd have to.
So what do you're broadcasting today with Wretched?
No. Well, no, not really. No, what we're doing here is I'll be speaking in just a little bit, but then I'm going to be interviewing all of the big guys that are here.
Tim heard?
Tim, didn't you get the email? So we're going to be talking out in the lobby, and I'm focusing on the Reformation because what we're hoping to do is turn this into a bit of a Reformation special for October, because apparently that's some sort of big deal in October, and networks seem interested in the Reformation.
I've heard something about that.
Yeah. Right.
So I have a lot of your resources in my home. I have Drive-By Church History, one of my favorites.
It's really good.
On the Shoulders of Giants.
Yeah.
So a lot of the Reformation stuff, like your teaching, was my foundation for that.
Yeah.
Like that's what got me interested in, like, this is history I really need to
It
know.
really,
it's really important to us.
In fact, I read a statistic recently, and it doesn't sound like a startlingly high number, but 2% of evangelicals swim the Tiber.
Yeah.
They transverse the Tiber, and they go to Roman Catholicism. And you go, well, 2%, that's no big deal. Hold on. There are tens of millions of evangelicals. That is a lot of people that end up going to Roman Catholicism. And I think one of the things that would keep them from swimming there is understanding their Protestant Reformation heritage.
Yes.
So many kids think that their ancestry goes back as far as Billy Graham.
Right.
No, it goes back, well, really to the beginning.
Right.
And if kids would get that sense of, I'm a part of something big, and that has long standing, I think that's one of the things that will keep them from going to Rome.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And one of the problems today is you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it, right? And so
I wrote that, by the way. That slogan is actually mine.
Are you that old?
Sure. I think we just discovered that earlier, thanks to Tim.
Right. So one of the things is, and I believe that this is all kind of grounded in youth culture and just the biblical illiteracy, which I think when you shy away from biblical, the importance of biblical literacy, and you use other methodologies, and let's just face it, it's worldly methodologies that are attracting or attempting to attract kids in the church or keep them into the church. The Bible is a story of the history of the church, right? So there's a lot of history there. And so if you're not willing to dig into that history, why would you ever be willing to learn about this other seemingly unimportant, like, how could I possibly benefit from something that happened 500 years ago?
This is not intended to be a diss, but some Bibles in the beginning will put timelines, and they mark the biblical events based on the famous secular ruler.
Yes.
We've got that backwards.
Right.
When the church history is the history, and we can talk about secular events, but God isn't about governments per se.
Right.
God's about the gospel. He's about promoting Jesus Christ, and this is the history. And I fear, and some homeschool curriculum actually does do this well, that we show God's history, not then it was Julius Caesar. Then that's not the important history. The church is.
Right, absolutely. Were you at the debate last night?
If James White is listening, yes. Yes, it was amazing. He was so good, and he studied so hard, and he mopped the floor with the fellow. No, I missed it.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's one of those things that I think what a great opportunity it was that EWTN was promoting this and broadcasting this.
Really?
Yeah. J.D. Hall heard it in Montana. He heard them promoting it on EWTN in Montana.
They thought they had a chance?
Yeah, they don't know James White. This is the new
People
generation.
need to research. Come on.
Right. Well, the old guard, they're still licking their wounds, and they're not willing to come back to the table. But there's some young guys who want to take a swing at the piñata,
Yeah, I'm sure that James did a magnificent job. His subject matter, I'm going to be talking to him about it, how the doctrine of the atonement, rightly understood, is the greatest refutation for the Roman Catholic Mass. So that'll that's the type of level he brings to the discussion. I would never put that together, but James White does.
Yeah.
What? Oh, look at we're getting cue cards.
So
wrap it up, skinny boy. I saw that one.
So tell us.
You want a microphone? Here, take this one. There you go.
No, we were just doing some production work here. That's all.
Okay.
See, you got to peek behind the curtain there for a second.
No, there's never any of that going on with our program. I have no idea what you just did.
Right. So the doctrine of the atonement, like you said, it's very key, and it's like most doctrines, completely watered down. I mean, there was a time when the doctrines of grace were fought for so stringently because they saw any move toward Arminianism as a step back toward Rome. Like everything was a danger. Like we came out of that. We don't want to take any steps back toward that. But now we're in this ecumenical where, right? What is it? The train left
Transverse.
the station.
Somebody, a historical sounds
I'm
like
trying to remember the name of that.
Bigger than a shoebox.
The ecumenical movement.
Evangelicals and Catholics together.
Thank you. So that kind of thing would not have been possible even 100 years ago.
It's fascinating to read the ECT documents and the efforts. It's typically ELCA Lutherans that are leading the charge on the Protestant side, and the liberal, sometimes charismatic Catholics on the other side.
Yeah.
By the way, Pope Francis is their leader. He's an ecumenist of the highest order. And the way that I always think about, I always envision a river, and on one side you've got a Roman tree, and on the other side you've got a Protestant tree. And the Roman doctrines stand on their side of the bank, and so do the Protestant doctrines. Well, each of them try to bend their doctrines, bend their trees to kind of kiss in the middle of the river, when the reality is they don't. There is a difference between Protestantism and Roman Catholicism, and watching them try to manipulate their own theology. And in fact, recently I just read an ECT document. The Pope just said that we welcome Martin Luther as somebody who spoke the gospel. What?
Right.
So what they do is they try to, and if we kind of understand it like that, and then at the end of the document, but we still have disagreements on justification, the Roman Mass, the office of the papacy, Mariology, indulgence. In other words, the same old.
Right.
Don't be deceived.
Right. And that's the problem, is because people equate the gospel and Christianity as be nice. And so to speak against, in the average church today, I think in America, if you say that Roman Catholics aren't Christians, people will look at you like, what are you talking about? They affirm the Trinity.
I've seen it. I was sitting in a Sunday school class once, and the teacher just casually said something like, people who are in the Roman system may be saved, but it's not because of Roman Catholicism. It's despite it. And suddenly hands went up. What are you saying here? That Roman Catholicism? And it's like, this was in a decent church. It was shocking to me.
Yeah. And the people who are surprised by that are what we would usually call solid Christians.
I have a confession to make. When I study Rome, I don't bump into it often. When you're in the Bible Belt, you just basically run into backslidden Baptists, but occasionally a Roman Catholic will pop up. And so I don't rub against it very often, but when I do, it is so grievous to me. The system is such a pharisaical, works-driven system. And when I read about these high-profile evangelicals who become Roman Catholics, I always think, let me get this straight. You are resting in the atoning work of Jesus Christ. Grace alone, faith alone, and Jesus alone. But now you suddenly want to start working your way there. How does that happen? And when I study the doctrines of indulgences and the papal mass, or the Roman Mass, and the papal infallibility doctrine, which, by the way, 1860, papal infallibility is a pretty new invention. So apparently before they could be wrong, but now they can't be wrong when they speak on matters of doctrine. It just grieves me because it's such a joyless system.
Yes.
No hope.
No hope at all.
I mean, you got purgatory to look forward to.
Yeah, for a couple million years.
Right.
If you've given enough.
Unless you buy an indulgence, which they are still selling, by the way. The indulgence business is alive and well. Tetzel's dead, but the indulgence system is not. They're still selling them.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Oh, there was one. I think it was the prior was a Benedict who I think offered one to go to France. You had to fly to France, probably on Vatican Airlines, to earn extra points, and then you needed to visit Lourdes or some sacred site. You needed to do the bibbidi bobbidi, and then you could spring somebody from purgatory or have your sins forgiven. That's funny. I thought Jesus did that, and they're still selling it today.
People believe the craziest things. I remember you talking once. I want to talk about what your breakout session is going to be also, but I remember you talking once about people believing crazy stuff. I remember where I was driving my truck in between Canada and the United States. You were going on about, what are you laughing at?
Going on about.
You were
blah, 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 blah is what that sounded like. Just
you
killing time.
You were explaining how we ought not to mock the Mormons for what they believe, because actually what do we believe can sound crazy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sure. To the uninitiated, to the unregenerated, of course. Besides that, and this was a lesson that was hard won. When you're talking to people about to mock their system, doesn't forward what you're trying to accomplish. If somebody would say to you, Bible thumping wingding guy, you'd go,
that's wingnut.
I know that. That's my point exactly. They're making fun. There is a difference. Okay. The wingdings are actually Arminian. The wingnuts are the Reformed guys.
We know a lot of wingdings.
But to make fun of people when you're trying to win them, we want Jesus to be the stumbling block, not us.
Well, and speaking of evangelism and Roman Catholics, I'm going to say something, and I'd like your response to it. I believe that one of the reasons it's easy for evangelicals to believe that Catholics are Christians is that because evangelism is really uncomfortable, and it's one less person I've got to witness to.
That's true. And, I'll tell you, if you ever visit a Roman Catholic church, whenever we're touring a town, if there's a big one, I like to stop it and see what's going on. Just go ahead and open up their hymn book. And you read the liturgy, some of it is far better than the gobbledygook that is going on in evangelical churches. It is a high view of God. It is love. You can see the gospel in there. Of course, they've added to it in the magisterium and tradition. But some of it is like, whoa, this is really good. Well, you just scratch below the surface and you discover a sea of problems. But you can look at that and conclude, well, they must be saved. And I would confess that there are some people in the Roman system who are saved. Again, despite the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah. How long, though? Should they stay? Because you hear people talk about, with Mormonism especially, you hear about, like Sean McCraney, I think he wrote a book about staying in the Mormon church so you can be a missionary where you are. I don't know. Should we be part of a bad or heretical church for very long?
No, you should run for your life as fast as you can and then go back and witness to those folks. But that mindset, which I appreciate and understand, I don't think it appreciates ecclesiology.
Right.
What the church actually is and what you're doing when you assemble and what you are saying to the world and to others. Your mere presence at a Catholic Mass is an endorsement of a Roman Catholic Mass. So I think these people, they need to escape. Now, while we love theology, all of us here at the G3 Conference, this is like Theology Fest.
Right,
it's just a hoot to be here.
It's like Comic-Con for theology nerds.
But we still need to remember, I think gently, that there are some people who are saved, but they just aren't very deep. They don't get into any sort of debates on theology, and they're just ignorantly kind of, and I don't mean that in a pejorative sense, they just ignorantly walk through their day. And they are resting in grace.
Right.
They just don't have enough knowledge to know they should skedaddle.
And that's what could be said for a lot of megachurch attenders too.
Well,
the
problem with the megachurch attenders is most of them that are there don't know anything about the true gospel.
Yeah.
And so they're why people. I think we got a little bit of a respite from persecution because of the current president. Is he president yet? Pretty soon he'll be president. And we've got, I think, a bit of a reprieve from persecution. But I have to confess to you, when it looked like, wow, the winds are blowing and they're starting to pick up speed, I was kind of glad on the inside, because nobody's going to want to sit in Joel Osteen's church listening to that pablum when they're losing their job because of their faith.
Right.
And it would purify so much of this nonsense.
Well, the way I see it is when persecution comes, Saddleback, etc., those are going to be the state churches. That's where the acceptable message is going to be.
You already see some of that, where they just they go along, they get along to go along, or go along to they transverse is what they do.
Tell us about your breakout session, Todd. What are you talking about? Share with us. Share your message with us. So
Matthew 16. 2 verses that the Roman Catholic Church uses. In fact, they encircle the rim of the inside of the St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. 2 verses. One would be, "You are Peter, on this rock I will build my church, and I give you the keys of the kingdom." We can't get to the second part of that, but we're gonna unpack, is Peter the one on whom the church is built? And of course, we know that's not the case. And the only way that you can get there biblically is to add to the Bible with the magisterium and with tradition. Otherwise, you just can't get there.
Right. Yeah. Sola Scriptura is the...
Starting at verse 13. Matthew 16:13.
Look at the large print on that Bible.
It's in the New Testament, right side. Flip it over. There's some red letters that should be there, too.
If you knew nothing else about Tim, but you had his Bible, you would know how old he is by the size of that print.
Let me tell you something. Don't mock it, punk. When someday you're going to show up in a restaurant and you're going to have the kids hold the menu across the table so you can read it. It's going to happen to you too, Pally.
Yeah. I mean, would you rather me not be able to read the Bible?
I think it's time for some church discipline here.
Yeah. So you're 13 through 16. Now when Jesus came into the district of,
Caesarea Philippi.
He was asking his disciples, "Who do people say the son of that what? Bleh. Who?
I guess we need a bigger type.
Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" And they said, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets." He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God."
That's it. And they use that verse then because Jesus continued and said, I think very interestingly, this is another sovereign statement that Jesus makes. God revealed this to you. You can't get this by yourself, Peter. You can't understand that he is the Christ. So I think it's a supporting of sovereign regeneration, but that's not what we're talking about at the G3 Reformation Conference.
Yeah, we kind of get that already.
You are the one on whom I am going to build the church, is how Rome understands it, meaning Peter. And we're going to just break that down to demonstrate. In fact, just to give you an idea of how contra-biblical that concept is, without help, before I looked up any resources, I just started to write down all of the Bible verses that would contradict this alone. I'm an idiot. I came up with 25 without help. And then when I started digging in, it's like, well, we could do 125 because it's just not biblical. That's my session.
That sounds awesome.
Historically, biblically, and confessionally, why Peter is not the foundation of the church.
So you said before you came on, you had some exclusive content that you were going to give us on the Bible Thumping Wingnut. Great announcement of what Wretched is doing in the future.
What are you talking about, man?
You don't remember that?
No.
Well, tell us what's coming up. What are some changes, some projects you're working on?
Yeah, for the last several years, we've been working toward a goal. We also do a TV show. And overall, I think this is a safe statement. Christian radio ain't bad. Mostly good teachers, because the bad teachers find their venue to be the visually driven venue of media, because they have to put on a show to sell and to keep people plugged in. But thinking people listen to talk radio and to preaching and teaching. So overall, you've got the MacArthurs and the Sproles, and that realm is pretty solid. TV, however, is a mess. There are some very fine Christian stations out there, but the big ones are dreadful, filled with apostasy. And our goal in life is to start moving toward taking over Christian TV with better content and better programming. So we're starting to create more programs than Wretched. We want to do a pro-life show, a weekly pro-life show. We already did that with Life is Best. Scott Klusendorf, who's going to be with you a little bit later, he's the bomb. Want to do a biblical counseling show, a Christian biblical counseling marriage show, so that we can start populating these good networks with better and better and better content to drive the charlatans away. That's what we're kind of focused on now.
That's the first of the 7 mountains of dominion, isn't it?
You get yeah, no, it's not. We just see, look, media still is if you told the reformers, you're going to be able to talk into a microphone sitting in a room someplace and millions of people can hear you. They couldn't fathom the idea, and we have it and take it for granted. So we just want to use it to get the gospel out.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just talking about that with Rich over at the AO Min booth, that God has the gospel on a tee for us right now with podcasting and YouTube, social media.
Makes me bonkers how lousy Christian TV is. I mean, even these guys, I don't mention names like TVN, but these guys have lots of money. And somehow they're still able to create a set that is just schlocky, that's just cheesy. With all of the money that they have, they just put on a bad show with bad theology. So we just want to start progressively changing that, and then hopefully bringing up some younger guys and gals who can start doing the same, because there's so much talent and there's so much money in evangelical Christianity. Yes. It's so efficient. So we just want to tackle it as much as we can.
Yeah, it's going to be some hard soil to get the spade into, but it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, be encouraged. There are some good TV networks. I mean, to give you an idea, the NRB network, NRB TV.
Yes, we've heard of it.
They're actually going to air our product called Drunken in the Spirit. It is a flat-out assault on the New Apostolic Reformation movement, and they said, we'll air this.
Oh, yeah.
What?
That's awesome.
I mean, those are guys with some courage over there.
We just had Chris Roseborough on our show on Sunday, and he was talking about, he believes that the NAR is the biggest threat to the church worldwide now.
To me, it poses a bigger threat right now than Roman Catholicism. And Phil Johnson challenged me on that. And you listen to Phil Johnson when he challenges you on something. And I said, the reason is, when you consider the Roman system, let's say it has 900 million people in it, give or take, whatever the number is. The NAR has 365,000 members, and they started in 1997.
Yeah, we've partnered with a missionary in India he's a local missionary, born and raised there, and his biggest persecution comes from the NAR churches. He's in a church of 1 million people. Wow. He's got to drive 180 miles to find a Reformed Baptist church. There's one Lutheran church, one Catholic church, and he said the NAR is on every corner.
Yeah, did you see this latest guy? What did he have? People drinking gasoline?
Yes.
Or he was setting people. He squashed a girl.
Yeah.
Whatever his charade was, put like a piece of plywood on top of a girl lying on the ground and then stepped on it to drive out the sun. She died.
Oh, man.
And and the government is actually stepping in to start curbing some of the nonsense of the NAR. And this isn't just in Africa, it's South America, and it is rampant in America.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we should wrap up to be respectful of your time. I know there's a lot of people who want to talk to you and meet you. You're an important person, and you're the tallest person in the room, so everybody sees you and flocks to you.
Yeah. So. Well, thank you, guys. Keep up the good work. I just found out that you've got this network thing going on. I think it's outstanding. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank
keep it
you
up.
for your time. I know.
I'm going to meet with the evangelical cardinal, Phil Johnson. The Pope, of course, of evangelicalism is John MacArthur. So I'm going to meet with the bishop.
Who's actually looking at you right there, John?
Could his head be bigger?
Yeah.
Look at it. It's like John MacArthur has this hovering presence. They've got right next to this booth is the Grace to You booth.
It's our conscience for the week.
And yeah, that's right. Yeah, watch your P's and Q's, fellas. Thanks very much,
guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Keep it up. All right.
All right, everybody. This is another episode of the Bible Thumping Arena podcast. We're broadcasting live here at the G3 and Todd Friel, Wretched Radio.
That was a treat.
We'll be broadcasting some more.
Yeah.
With time comes on, but wow, there's more people watching now than we're watching for most of the time. So you guys are gonna want to go back and watch the whole thing. Go back and watch the whole thing. How did you get talking about Catholicism?
Because it's the 500th anniversary of the Reformation.
Okay.
Hello.
I was like,
That's why there was a Roman Catholic debate last night.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. I see. All right. Well, I'm going to end this broadcast, and we're going to put this on the podcast RSS feed. But for those of you who are watching, stay tuned to this YouTube channel. Subscribe, and you'll get updates. We'll be broadcasting again live here at our exhibitor booth in not so long time from now.
Yeah.
Probably within an hour.
Yep. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
See ya.